Welcome back, everyone, to Light Talk, where everyday people can share their own unique spiritual journey stories with a safe and supportive community. If you want to be a guest on the show, email lighttalk423@gmail.com. And don't forget to click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons down below. All right, we have a special guest for you today, so let's get going. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and let's start talking.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today. This is really, my heart is full of gratitude, really. My name is Natasha Thompson. I am in the company of Natasha and the Akasha because I do most of my work in the Akashic Records. Um, it's it's fascinating to see what you can see. It's the Akashic Records is basically a big library of everything that's ever happened, that is currently happening, and all future possibilities. So you can just see so many things in there. So I'm excited to talk with you guys today about all of my experiences throughout my whole life, including what happens when I'm in the Akashic Records.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. Yeah. So everything started about 20 years of age. Is that correct for
That's
you?
right. That's right. So around the age of 20, my mom started getting into spiritual things, metaphysical things, and she invited me to go to some classes with her, which was very different than our upbringing. You know, we were a very, some regular religious household. And then she's like, hey, come to this class with me. And so we started exploring this world of spirituality and metaphysics together. And it was so fascinating to me. And one, because when you go to that realm, the rules are there's no rules. Do you know what I mean? Like in the religious world, it's like this is the truth, this is the way it is. But I remember going to classes to learn to open up my third eye, my psychic senses, and it was sort of like you can't get it wrong. Just whatever comes to you is right. And I was like, wow, this is so freeing. And so I really dove into it because it just felt right. It felt right in my body. It just felt right for where I was in my life path.
Yeah, it's really amazing because I felt the same thing. I've really felt the same thing with mine is you go to church and it's almost like you have to think this way, but when you're out in this world, it's like you're still thinking the same way, but it's so different. It's so weird, but it's great.
Mhm.
It is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's very freeing. You know, everybody can have their own experience, their own life path, their own way of viewing the world, and it's okay. In this lens and perspective of life, everything is accepted, everything is worth exploring, and I think it's just more freeing for people to allow themselves to really come home to who they are, what they want to express and experience in this life, in this body.
Right, right. So how did you feel? So you went to these classes and you felt so free. So where did it go from there?
Yeah, so I dabbled in all sorts of classes, but really sort of landed in reading the Akashic Records. And for me, it was quite natural to go into the records and read them. I really enjoyed it, and one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much is because I could read things for myself or for other people, and it gave such clarity. You know, if I'm trying to make a decision, I can go into the Akashic records, which are on a whole different level. They're not in the 3D, they're at a whole different level. So you get this
Right,
higher level perspective. And so I could go in and say, hey, I'm thinking about moving jobs or this or that, right? And you could go into the records and get some more information. And I would do the same for other people. And this really was sort of like on the side. You know, it wasn't like a business for me in my 20s. I was working in corporate America, and then I just would do this on the side. Hey, can you check the
right,
records for me? Sure, of course. And people just got so much clarity and confidence from it. You know, it's saying, okay, that resonates, that makes sense. Now I can move forward.
right,
And so I
right.
love doing it because it just gave people peace of mind, about what's going on in their life. Do you know, sometimes you can be in the middle of like a storm in your life, but if you have an understanding of why it's happening, where it's leading you, what you're learning, it really helps to like calm down the anxiety in your body, do you know, and helps you weather the storm much, much easier.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It definitely calms you and you're not so stressed and you could get through it so much easier just by flowing with it and not fighting against the current. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
then, it's nice to be able to use it. And for a while, this is a weird thing that I actually had to like make peace with and clear energetically for myself. I actually felt like I was cheating at life by having access to this information. Like everyone I work with doesn't have access to this.
Right.
They have access, they just don't know they have access. You know what I mean? So they are not using this tool, and I have it. So I felt like I was cheating a little bit at life. So I had to really grapple with that and like work with other energy healers to help me shift that for myself, and realize that it's okay to use this information in my life path. I'm not using it for bad purposes. You know what I mean? I'm just
Right.
helping myself along my life path. And so there was nothing in it that should have prevented me from using it. So it's very interesting how we can all have little blocks along the way that kind of show up as well that we have to work through. Our spiritual journey is just the same as any other journey on this earth plane. There's things that come up, things you have to learn about yourself in the process.
Right. Right. And it's so amazing how that happens because you have no clue about this stuff. And then just next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, here I am. And yeah, those steps took me to here. That happened to get me to here. And it is pretty crazy, but it's amazing.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely amazing with it.
Mhm.
So what kind of experiences have you had up in the Akashic Records?
It's interesting. Um, when I started, so reading the Akashic Records, I do readings in the Akashic Records, and then I also do healing work. So really looking at people's limiting beliefs or traumatic events, whether it's a past life or current life. And when I really got into the healing work is where things started to get a little wild because I would look and I would say, okay, somebody's having trouble, let's say, with their finances, you
Mhm.
know? So I would look and I'd say, okay, what is tangled up in here that's causing them to not be so financially secure, financially abundant? What's causing this? And it's not ever like something you would think. Do you know what I mean? I say, okay, this person is struggling with finances, and I would look at the records and it would say, well, it's because they are so stuck in people pleasing, or they're so stuck in the energy of um, needing to continually overgive. And it comes from a different pattern that you would never in a conscious mind put together that is causing this issue.
Wow.
Uh, so it's so fascinating to me. So whenever I go to look at something for someone, I just think, okay, I can't wait to see where this takes us. Like it's
Yeah.
so fascinating to me.
What's your most amazing story with that?
Um, so one time I was doing a past life healing for someone. Actually, I have two stories I'll
Okay.
tell. They're fun. So one is about a past life healing and one is an actual reading I was doing. So in a past life healing, I was working with someone who has digestive issues. So we were looking at what happened in the past life energy that sort of carried this lifetime. And it was very fascinating. And this one is actually sort of a direct link. But so in the past life image that the records show me, she was a food taster for royalty, um,
Ooh.
which which comes with a lot of mixed emotions in that lifetime because it was a very prestigious role to be that close to the royalty, to be trusted to taste their food for them. But the risk every time you put something in your mouth, you don't know if it's going to kill you or not, right?
Ooh,
And
yeah,
so,
okay. Fear.
oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. So having that experience in a past life carried forward into this life where she would be eating and so many emotions were happening. She was having trouble digesting things. There was a fear of food, all of that. And so we were able to actually sort of change that energy, you know? That
Nice.
happened in the past. I work with the records to loosen that energy, shift it, allow them to see from a higher perspective that allows it to release. And then you get relief in this life, in this body. So fun.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Maybe
Yeah.
something for me. I could get rid of some of this.
Yeah, yeah, we all have something connected from the past life that's just carried over, and
Mhm.
things will come up in a stronger way in this life to get cleared. Sort of like escalates to the point of like, enough is enough. I don't want to do this anymore. Somebody help me. And then we work with that energy to clear it.
Yeah, that's
And the great.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
That's amazing.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And then the another experience I had doing a reading was very, very cool. So before I do a reading, I usually just go into the records and kind of check into the energy with that person. And I remember going into the records, and what they showed me for this person before her reading was like a rocket with blue fire coming out,
Mm.
and the rocket was coming to Earth. And I was like, I'm not really sure where this is going to go. So I just like roll with it. And so then I get into doing the reading for her, and we're talking, and again the image of the rocket with the blue flame comes through. And so I'm telling her, I'm like, I don't know what this means. I've never seen anything like this before. There's a rocket with blue flames, blah blah blah. And so she's okay, okay. And then we close the session. I close the records, and then I'm talking to her human to human. And I said, I don't know what that blue rocket is about. And she's like, oh, let me tell you. I know what it means. I said, okay. She said, I am a walk-in. I, the soul before me was in this body, went through a near-death experience. And at that point, we changed. My soul came into her body. And I was like, oh, okay. Um, so her soul came in this rocket with the blue flame, and she didn't come as a child because that's what they were showing me as an adult coming in the rocket. But she was asking about trauma as a young child, and so I couldn't make sense of this.
Hmm.
And so she's like, "No, I'm a walk-in." I was like, "That's why they showed me you coming in a rocket." It was such a wild experience, but the records never lie. Like everything they show is so spot on.
Hmm.
And even if I do a reading for someone and they're like, that doesn't really resonate, usually after some time of processing, they come back and say, oh, yes, now I see. And I just love that about it. There's just such a vibration of love and non-judgment in the readings, and people feel that when they hear the words that come through, and always, always spot on.
Yeah. That's really cool. And that kind of resonates also when I do my card readings. It's the
Mhm.
same kind of thing as I drew this one card and instantly my sitter started crying. I just showed her the card and she just instantly started crying. And later, after, like you said, later after the reading, she explained what that was for. And it was like, oh my goodness, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
never cease to be surprised though. Like I know this, I've done this for like 20 years and I've never ceased to be surprised when it's so spot on.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels really good when you can really get it to hit like that. It feels really good. Yeah. I'm getting ready to get into my second class, so I'm all excited for that. All excited for
But
that. So you've connected with the councils too.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. That was some things in life I think are just destined. So when I started this journey 20 years ago, um, I said, I never want to be a channel. I do not want another entity coming into my physical body. I'm not interested. And fast forward to about 2 years ago, I was going on a trip for work. So I'm downloading books to take on the airplane. I love to read on the airplane. So I'm on this website, I pick a book, and then later, I swear to you, something took over and purchased a book on how to channel. It just happened. So, okay. So I download the books, I get on the airplane, I read the book that I chose. I'm like, this is not interesting. So I flipped to the book on channeling. I devoured it. I devoured it on the airplane. I couldn't wait to get to my hotel to try channeling. I was like, what is happening? And I, again, you just kind of roll with it when you're in this sort of realm and field. And so I get to my hotel, I sit down and I do the meditation to access the plane
Right.
where you meet your high guide. I had no idea what's going to come through because when you go to channel, they choose you, right? You don't choose who is coming through, they choose you. So I didn't know it was going to happen. I go in and I record it, and it's my first time channeling, and so it's very slow. You have to kind of like adjust the vibration to speak with them and all that sort of thing. So the words come through very slowly in the beginning. And so then later I went back and listened to the words that came through, and they repeatedly told me, we are the Council of Light. Okay?
Nice.
And I had never heard of the Council of Light before. And then, so fast forward maybe a month or something, I get an email with an invitation to a free event where a woman is channeling the Council of Light. I was like, oh my God, I've never heard of this before. And now
Oh,
this thing comes through. Other people are channeling the Council of Light. And I was like, wow, this is so, synchronistic.
yes.
So
Yes.
cool. And I have to tell you, like, the amount of love and joy when I connect with them, it's unbelievable. Like just it kind of makes you not want to leave, and once you want to go back again and again and again because it is just so much love and light, and it's just so beautiful. So I access this space for two things. I access for my own benefit of just connecting with them, feeling the light. And they did a lot of energy work with me. So they would like move my physical body. They would control my breath. So I was doing breath work that they were controlling. And I never felt out of control. So this is a conscious channeling where I am aware of what's happening. I can turn it on and off, but I allow them to use my voice, to use my body. And so they were doing a lot of energy work with me, clearing my throat, clearing things in my physical body. And then later, I began to really channel the words in a more fluid way, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's a different experience whether I'm going in to just be with them versus allowing their words to come through. It's just such beautiful energy. And I have started to transcribe the words that have come through. And I will either listen again to what they've said or I will read what they've said. And every time it is just like so comforting, so beautiful, such high vibration. Um, and so when I'm in that space of channeling, like I said, I'm aware, but it's also a very loose awareness, it's sort of comes through, I hear what's happening, but then it doesn't like stick in my memory, So that's why I have to go listen or reread because it's just sort of passing through.
So you
Uh,
don't remember after doing a reading or a channel, it's just gone.
mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a fascinating experience. And so obviously they chose me. They pushed that button to buy that book.
That's exciting because I would like to be a channel. And so hearing that makes me just like I'm getting energetic, wanting to do it even more now.
Yes, it's such a beautiful experience, and
Yeah.
everybody has a different guide that comes through. I know that I've heard that like you can maybe eventually a different guide will come through, that sort of thing. So everyone has a unique experience. And from reading the book, they basically were saying like anyone can do this. We have reached that level of consciousness on planet Earth that not only select few have access to this. Everyone can do this. Everyone can connect in a channel.
Yeah, I'll have to, we'll put the name of the book on the bottom down
Perfect.
below
Yes.
so
Yes.
that everyone can see and
Yes.
check this book
Absolutely.
out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So and when you're doing that, you had a story of walking through a door?
Yeah. Yeah. So the first time I ever did the channeling, the meditation takes you up in a cloud, and then you reach a door or a portal, however it shows up for you, right? And what's interesting is I was so excited. I read this book. I'm jazzed. I'm like going up in my cloud. I'm getting to the door. And I remember reading in the book that the person who transcribed the book is channeled from their guides on how to channel.
Mhm.
And they were saying, like the first time I went, I was sort of hesitant, and it took me like a month before I was willing to walk through the door. And I thought, that's not going to happen to me. No, I'm ready. I'm going. So I
Yeah.
get up there, I get to the door, and sure enough, I hesitated because you're making a commitment to speak with a high guide. This is a high vibrational being. And for whatever reason, I paused. I took it very serious. And so I'm paused at the door. I'm like, okay, okay. When you're ready, Natasha, when you're ready, you can go through. And it was several minutes of sitting with it and really letting it sink in that I'm making a commitment to honor what comes through. And then I walk through the portal. And you kind of walk through, and the first time I went through, I'm still like I walk through the portal, I'm up in the clouds, and I say I'm ready for my high guide to come. And what being approached me was a feminine energy, and all around was like the color of the rainbow, just like radiating, you know, so beautiful. And as she approached, she said her name is Aurora.
Pretty.
So beautiful. And she just enveloped me with like a big hug and just so much light and love and oh, so beautiful. And then later, then I continued and I allowed the words to come through. Then I come back to 3D reality. I kind of processed and I said, oh, this makes sense. Aurora, like the aurora borealis, all the lights, but it's all the colors, right? It's not just one color, it's all the colors. And that made sense to me in terms of the Council of Light because there are multiple members. I believe there are
Yeah.
12 members on this council. So the
Oh, wow.
rainbow represents all of them coming together as a collective to speak through. So beautiful.
Yeah, that would be. And the colors you saw from there were very vibrant, if I understand correctly, very vibrant because of the energy that they have.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And so just like there was such movement about it,
I'm
It's
not hearing you.
uh-oh.
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. Technical glitch.
Yeah, pushing buttons I didn't know I was pushing. Okay, and continue.
Yeah. Yeah, I also want to tell you about a recent experience I had with them too. So that was 2 years ago. And a recent experience I had, I went again. I go up in the cloud, I go through the door. This is the process every time. I went through the door and I was like, this looks different. It's very busy here today. And I thought that like it was just other guides that were just in my space or something.
Hmm.
And then it all sort of came into focus that I was like in another place. I don't know if it's another planet or just like a large spaceship, not entirely clear,
Huh.
but I was there, like with the council, and there's like they were sitting in their meeting, but there are all these other beings walking around doing their work. And I was like, wow, this is a whole nother level of fascinating. It was
Wow.
so cool to just see the activity that's happening there. And I kind of came to understand that like I also sort of have an office in this building, and part of my soul operates there, and then a portion of my soul is here in this physical body, right? And so it
Yeah.
was so fascinating to have such a different experience when I walked through the door.
Oh, I bet it'd be almost like culture shock.
Hmm.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Crazy.
That was
That's
really,
wild. So do you remember what it looked like on the inside where you were at?
yeah, it's almost like everything was just glass or crystal. Um, Everything was just windows, right? So like, and not even like a beam between the windows. It was just windows everywhere, and like multiple levels,
Uh-huh.
floors. I'm not really sure to say. And everything is happening very fast. The energy is very fast. So people are walking, but it's like not how we would humans walk. It was like, you know, but
Just a
also like,
blur.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
so fast. And like the table is like clear crystal or glass, like just nothing seemed to have a density or a color, which is all very just like clear. Obviously, the people and everything had like a shape to them, but the whole building was just like glass or crystal.
Yeah. How awesome.
And
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like a dream I had of heaven. I met a friend. He come to visit me, and everything was white, but you could tell the difference of what everything was. You could tell the dresser, the bed, the wall, the chair, all of that, but it was all white.
yeah, yeah,
Same kind of thing.
yeah, exactly.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So you've done some inner work with the meditation, and you met with the councils. So in each initiation um, intention, what how did you go about with the intentions with that?
Yeah, so I really just, it was clear when I started working with them that the words weren't coming so smoothly. And so again, I sort of like step aside and let them go. And so they were just moving my body, and it felt so good. So like, of course I'm going to keep going. It feels so good how they're moving the energy.
Yeah, understood.
Always, always they would like raise my head and work this energy in my throat because you're talking about a being who's at a totally different frequency, trying to use a vocal cord of someone in the 3D world. They have to kind of manipulate, and we have to kind of adjust our frequencies to be able to allow it to come through.
Hmm.
And I think also, like, obviously, I was ready to become a channel, but I had never intended to, right? And so I think
Right.
there was some changing of structures within me to really accept this to come through in a verbal way. And so I just let them. I would just sit, and it was never really more than 10 minutes. It was just like fine tuning the energy, doing some breath work, letting them move through me.
Yeah.
And it really helped to open up my voice. So, really, before when I started channeling 2 years ago, I wasn't really putting myself out there to be seen
Uh-huh. Right.
my voice, right? If I was on
Right.
Instagram, I would post something with words, not my face, not my voice. Yeah. And so after working with the council for about a year, I was really getting pushed to do videos in social media to share what I do. So resistant. I was so resistant. But I think they had been working so long with my voice And finally, I stepped forward and started doing them, and it relieved the pressure. Do you know what I mean? It was sort of like, you need to use your voice. You need to use your voice. We're going to help you get there. And so now that's the majority of how I communicate, which is so different than it was before. I was primarily writing. Now I'm primarily speaking. It has just really changed how I show up and how I'm willing to be seen, to just even be here with you on camera telling you this huge milestone, huge growth that for sure wouldn't have happened if they hadn't been working with me. This is really a partnership of them helping me. And obviously, they're helping me so they can come through me to help others. I
Others.
have to be at the point that I'm clear that they can come through and really expand their message to everyone who is ready and willing to hear it.
And we welcome all of you,
Yeah.
you and them. And that's kind of how I've got started on this, on the podcasting. I mean, I am not one that wants to look at myself. In fact, I don't even look at my videos once I make them. I don't even look at them because I don't like my voice and all that stuff that
Mhm.
we pick at ourselves with. But yeah, it's a big change from what they want you to do versus what you're doing. It's a huge change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a huge amount of growth, right?
Oh
For
yeah.
for us to like step into something that was so intimidating or scary or resistant to, it's a huge amount of growth.
Yes. Yes. Totally get that one. It's very, very amazing because I never in my wildest dreams thought I would have a podcast. In fact, when I started it, I had no idea anything about it. But I'm learning. I'm still learning. Still a lot to learn with it. But yeah, it's great. It's great when you learn it.
Um,
It's awesome. Well, it's been an awesome time. I'd love to hear more. I'd love to hear more about this book. So maybe we can get together off camera and
Absolutely, absolutely,
talk about this because I would like to kind of get moving on that um,
absolutely.
channeling and mediumship too. Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. If anyone out there has any stories you would like to share with us, email lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons down below. And we will talk with everybody later. All right. Bye, everyone.